the goal was always that, people should dance to my original. I'm a trained Hindustani classical singer.
Wow.
I'm a Kathak dancer.
Mm.
So I want to get back to my roots. I used to write a lot of songs, a lot of stories. I had to run from my house and come to Delhi to build my career. And my parents were just against it. So whatever I've done it by myself. It's just the sheer high of music and being able to deliver your craft to so many other people in different cities, in different states, different places. That is something that is unmatchable.
Fair enough. Controversial is what we live for. That's what you guys gonna listen
Controversies make you famous.
to. Yes.
अगर मुझे पैसे अच्छे नहीं मिल रहे हैं और मुझे पता है I can bring a lot to the table, I will not take that gig up. It looks so fancy and so glam, but then back end pay, it's like all dirt and, like you said, dirty politics.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Track Talk with Sodhi, where we dive into the heartbeats of the Indian music scene. Today we have a rising star in the Indian underground electronic scene, known for her sets being a burst of upbeat energy and infectious groove. We have Rimzim, also known as Bird. She hails from Jaipur, by the way. It's a pleasure to connect with you, Rimzim. Thank you so much for taking out the time. It's honestly a pleasure to have you here. And yeah, for the guest today, I think it's going to be exciting to...
I'm so excited
Yeah.
and so nervous.
तो अच्छी बात है आप थोड़े नर्वस हो कोई सीन नहीं मैं भी आपके साथ नर्वस हूँ ये भी मेरा 4th episode है so it's going to be exciting
100%.
the idea is to really Rimzim to understand more about where your journey started, right? So that whoever's listening to this or whoever's watching this should learn a bit from you and your challenges that you face and the learnings you had. So really curious to know, where did you start? कहाँ शुरुआत हुई that you were like, okay, भाई, music is my calling and मेरे को बनना है DJ and मैंने घुसना है electronic space में. कहाँ पे, कौन सी age में, कहाँ से आपको inspiration मिला है?
I think it's all started when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
So as a 14-year-old kid, I used to lie to my parents
Yeah.
and tell them that I'm going for group studies,
Right.
but end up at parties and not smoke, not drink,
Right.
no alcohol,
Right.
just there for the music.
Mhm.
And the promoters who were there back in the day were really supportive. I used to beg them that, please let me in. Like, I really want to come and attend the gig, XYZ. And that happened. So when I used to see DJs playing, performing, I used to get this feeling that maybe this is something that I would want to do in life.
Mhm.
And, how they have the control over all the people who were there.
Yeah.
And back in the day when I was 14, there were no phones, nothing.
Right.
It was just pure vibes, underground raves, parties, and it is not going out on social media. So very few people are there, but they're all there for the love of music. So, I explored that bit for a while, but then studies, life, everything.
Of course.
So I used to go out with a friend of mine back in the day. And again, like, I was so curious to see how this all happens that one day I just took a leap of faith. And I was like, listen, maybe like this is what I really want to do. So I should just go ahead with that instead of wasting time with anything else. And yeah, I got my first gig in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
This was a local gig in Jaipur, and a very good friend of mine, who's now a friend, she was coming to play. Her name is Shri.
Okay.
So I opened for her, and that's how it all started. And the more I got into it, the more, it became a thing that, no, I really want to do this. And the goal was always to play my own music.
Right.
That I want people to dance on what I enjoy making or listening to. So it all started there. And the goal was always that, people should dance to my originals. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
So yeah, it's been 5 years now since I
Right.
started.
So
yeah.
that's where you got the inspiration and like,
Yeah.
so Shri got you the first gig and kind of got you that platform to perform. and,
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's really important to have those people in your life who are kind of doing something similar to what you want to do
100%.
and give you that. And not everybody has that opportunity,
True.
right? So that's great,
True.
actually. But genre-wise, you were always sure कि electronic ही करना है, not hip-hop, not commercial.
तो हिप हॉप भी तो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक म्यूजिक
हाँ
ही होता है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Like, I think this is the understanding जो मुझे अब मिली है, that initially it was more like techno, house, that kind of vibe. I actually started off listening to Psytrance back in the day.
Oh wow.
As a 15, 16-year-old kid, I'm listening to Infected Mushroom
Yeah.
and Spongle
Right.
and artists like that. Asterix, for a matter of fact. So it started there, but then I slowly transitioned into playing more happy, nice music
Mhm.
and more groovy music, because it's very dark. Like, not everybody can handle that. But I like that. So yeah, that's there. So it's an evolution, I would say. Initially, first year I was playing a different sound, then I moved to a different sound, kind of like experimenting where my heart feels most alive
Right.
and stuff like that. But yeah, now I am here and I play all shades of electronic music, be it hip hop, be it R&B, be it techno, be it house, all the subgenres of techno, all the subgenres of house. I also really enjoy playing a lot of trance.
Mm-hmm.
So trance, but like with a whole revived vibe from the 2000s. So
Right.
I call it neo trance.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in the genres, it's just like endless. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
that's true.
I just stick to electronic music.
Yeah. I think it's more about the feel and the vibes.
Yes, 100%.
I think you also mentioned once that there is an emotional connect to the music, and sometimes how it can be a gift and also a curse, right? So could you kind of elaborate on what you meant by?
So when I started off, I was very young and I
Right.
had nobody around me to guide
Mhm.
me that, this is what you should be pursuing or doing. So I had a day job.
Right.
Then I took a leap of faith again and I was like, I want to leave my day job and just practice music full time, because the goal was to be a producer.
Right.
And I was not really able to fulfill my producer side while having a day job. So that kind of like made me understand that, listen, like, music is great. And I started off because it was my passion. I could dedicate my whole life to music. But when there are certain challenges like making a living off music in a country where we are, where this is still considered something really bad,
Right.
you're going out in the night and partying, and as a girl specifically. So it kind of led me to rethink my life decisions, that maybe I should have not left my day job and still continued with that so that I could fund my music. And I started not liking music a lot. So there was a time definitely where I was not making any music at all. I just wanted to make money so that I could fund my art.
Right.
But then eventually now I think I've made my peace with it,
Mhm.
and I still consider it a gift that I have a lot of supportive people around me who help me do what I want to do. And yeah, so it's the emotional connect which is
Right.
still keeping me in here, but it gets difficult.
Right.
So yeah.
And in terms of the music that you've evolved into kind of playing and understanding and kind of putting it out there, how do you find the elements to kind of blend it into your sets? Like, is it always an emotional kind of connect that you got to have with the elements? Yeah, kabhi you do it more for the crowd than yourself sometimes.
So I think I would say that if you're true to your sound, what you really want to play, I've seen really educated people, music-wise, who come and listen to you. But I've seen a lot of people who just come for the commercial side of the business to attend gigs. Even they like it. So it's you and your art versus the crowd. Of course, throwing in one or two tracks that the crowd really wants you to play is great. I make my own versions of it because I don't like trending music at all. It's just so overdone and overhyped. And I feel it just kind of kills my vibe. So that element, what made it really popular, I'll pick it up and I'll maybe make an edit, which is a DNB edit or a breakbeat edit or
sweet.
something like that. So the element is still there, but it's just the vibe being changed. So it's more connected to who I am, underground. but at the same time a little more commercial that the people can relate with.
Right.
And that kind of binds you with the audience. So then they know that, oh, she's playing this also. Then they listen to you like in a much open way, I
Yeah.
would say. And it's just 1 or 2 tracks that you need to throw in between your sets that can really like hold that connection with the audience.
Right. Really
Yeah.
interesting. Because I remember when I saw you the first time proper, like I heard that, you've been playing around. पहली बार मैंने Para Fukuba के लिए, I think you opened. So I saw that and I loved your set. I absolutely loved your set. I was like, भाई इसे इन्हें तो बुलाना है. Like keep बुलाना है. But I also realized that you've been playing so much. And since then I've been following you like, properly. And I saw कि तुम इतने events और इतने gigs कर रहे हो at so many different venues. You performed all around the country pretty much, like in so
Yeah.
many different cities and
Yeah.
so many venues. How has your experience been with these venues? I would say, what's been your favorite venue? I would want to also ask कि कौन सा सबसे मतलब the venue that you didn't like at all?
Should
मेरे
I
को पता नहीं,
say
you'll be
it?
okay with naming them. क्या पता काम मिल जाए वापस वहाँ पे, but
Controversies are
yeah.
cool.
Maybe let's not take the name, but what was your best experience and like best event gig that you hosted, and which was one of the worst that you hosted, and why?
All right, this is pretty interesting.
So-
I think it would be the Para Fukuba gig because that was the time where, I opened for him and there were almost like 700-800 people.
Right.
So far, that has been the biggest gig of my
Right.
career. And also, I dropped in a edit at the end of the set. It's called Say It Right
Mhm.
by Nelly Furtado,
All right.
if you know that.
Yeah.
So I just really like that song so much. I made an edit and stuff and I played it. So Nicholas Para Fukuba, he came and he told me that he was dancing on the last few songs and everybody was in the green room and they were vibing from there. So that made me really happy. And it was a very wholesome experience in general because that was also the gig where I played a lot of my originals and people really liked it. I got a lot of feedback for it. So yeah, but favorites would be a lot actually. So I can't name one favorite. Every venue that I play at has some USP
Right.
which the other venue is not able to cater to.
Hmm.
So this is a very gray area. But the worst one, I'm thinking, it's just I'm so blank because I don't think I've had a worst experience so far. I don't know if I'm
That's
lucky.
great. That's great. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to have a bad experience, like if it's been great, it
But
was
certain
great.
here and there's with the logistics because I'm so short. I
Hmm.
need
Yeah.
a riser to play
Right,
on.
right.
So sometimes venues don't have that riser. So I've played at almost all the possible risers that you can imagine. There was this one time the venue guys, they got a milk crate. Have you seen that?
Yeah, the
blue
blue
colored.
ones. Yeah.
So they got that and I was playing on that and I was so scared because I could just fall any moment. But I've played on that. This one time, the venue did not have a riser. So they were offering me a chair to play.
Right.
They were like, you stand on the chair and then you play. Which was so funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you think I'm going to be playing standing on that?
Right.
Just apply some basic logics.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't think I've really had issues with any venue
Okay.
so far. I'm just lucky.
Yeah.
Or I'm not just stating facts.
You're also lucky वो chair was not a rotating one, but still a DJ set बजाते हुए.
पीछे घूम गई.
And then you gotta play it
Air
from the
mixing.
back.
I used to do that as a lot as a kid though,
really?
air mixing, just zunza.
Oh,
with,
wow.
Yeah,
Wow. So
yeah.
that-
Imagining that I'm DJing.
Yeah, that shows that you always had an interest,
I guess.
towards this. Yeah.
Yeah.
DJing is very interesting. I think maybe personally, I would love to learn how to DJ because DNB is my favorite electronic kind of genre, and I love that. I
Yeah.
think that gets me up every time. No
Yeah.
matter what it is,
Yeah,
any day more than techno or house
Yeah.
or anything.
yeah.
But yeah, that's very interesting to know. And I think while performing also, you really got to be in that space and, in that whole mindset. And I know there was this one story where I think, I'm really sorry about it, but I think you lost your grandmom. And at that point you were playing and, it must be so emotional, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you handle that while playing? How did you go through that gig? It must be so tough, right? So,
Okay, so that was indeed very tough. And I was the closest to her, grown up with her.
Mm.
I was very sad. I don't know if I'm going out of context, but I
No,
just
no,
want
it
to put
doesn't
it out
matter.
there. I was very sad because in the final days of her life, I
Okay.
could not be there for her because of extensive touring, traveling, doing gigs here and there. So for the last 2 years, I was not able to meet her so often as I
Mm.
would. And she used to complain that, you don't come home anymore and stuff like that. So I'm glad one way because I got to spend some time with her before this happened. But the day it happened, I remember I was in the hospital.
Mm.
All of this had happened and I had a gig in the evening.
Right.
And everybody around me just suggested me that, you should just drop it. You should drop it. Just tell them that, something has come up and you can't perform. But I didn't want to do that. So, कुछ ऐसी जिद थी या जो भी था, because I was the main act. It was not like I was opening for an international act.
Right.
That people are coming for the international act and, so then that can happen, I guess. But it was my show. I was the main act.
Yeah.
So for my audience, I can't do that. No matter what happens in my personal life, it's my personal life. At the end of the day, it's a show that I'm putting on. So I did go. While I was getting ready, I was very sad. I didn't want to get ready at all because the next day we had to get done with all the rights, like everything else involved. But I did go. I did talk to my friends. I was so lucky that I had very supportive friends. And the only thought in my head at that point of time was that maybe someday, if I ever do a TED Talk, I'm going to say this out and loud to everybody that, no matter what, if you're really passionate about something, I understand it can be really tricky. But that taught me that nothing comes before work.
Right.
And that is a very controversial statement, but nothing comes before work. If somebody is booking me to play or to perform, I need to do my duty. Unless things are very dire, of course. But everybody was there. My parents were very supportive. They were like, you go, you do your thing. We are here. Everybody is here. So you don't necessarily have to be here. I know nothing can, we can't rectify this. We can't get her back. But the show must go on. So you must go and perform. I did go. I did perform. It was a great gig. I was not feeling like it throughout the gig. Even when I was playing, people could make it out. But then I was there doing my job, and I think that made me really happy, and it gave me a different sense of motivation towards what I really want to do in terms of music career. So it was great.
These decisions are not easy to make, right? You do need that support behind you to kind of make that decision and still go out and perform with whatever energy you have and still put out a good show. And you're doing it all for your craft and all for that you believe in. It's the passion, right? So it's definitely understandable. So, I mean, businesses don't stop. You treat it as a business. Businesses don't stop working
100%.
because personal issues are
Exactly.
there, but it doesn't make it any easier.
100%.
So I completely understand. And touring must really get tiring, right? So, I mean, what was the worst time when you had to tour a lot? And it was like, you were like, okay, ये बड़ा unmanageable हो रहा है यार, ये आज नहीं हो पाएगा शायद.
तो ऐसा तो कभी नहीं हुआ है.
Wow.
I've loved my job so much, even though I'm sleep deprived most of the time when I'm touring. Because there have been weekends where I'm playing 3 different cities for 3 different days. One city to different city, then flights, airports, venue, back to the airport, flight, venue. So I try to get some sleep in the flights. I carry my earplugs with me. So anybody who wants to sleep, please carry your earplugs. They really help. Even without traveling, if you go for gigs, please carry your earplugs. But so I mean, coming back to it, I think I love it.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't get tired.
Right.
But I'm sleep deprived. I am not well fed. I try to be on point with it. So ऐसा हुआ था कि when I was touring extensively, I realized that I really like घर का दाल चावल and like घर का खाना. instead of going for pizzas and
Yeah.
whatever,
Bahar-
anything,
yeah,
बाहर
yeah.
का खाना. तो मुझे वो चीज़ अच्छी लगी कि I've started appreciating the smaller things in life because of all this, that I can enjoy even in the smallest moments. If I'm having a meal with my parents and it's a basic ghar ka khana, I really cherish it because I know it's very difficult to get it.
Yeah.
When you're traveling, you can't really have that same माँ के हाथ का खाना and stuff like that. तो वो चीज़ काफ़ी अच्छी थी. काफ़ी लोगों ने मुझसे पूछा that what are you high on, dude? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Like, how do you stay like that?
Yeah.
But I think it's just the sheer high of music and being able to deliver your craft to so many other people in different cities, in different states, different places. That is something that is unmatchable. It's the best high in the world.
Absolutely.
So no alcohol, nothing else, but just sheer love for the art, for your work. And I treat it as a business also, of course. If I was in a corporate job, I would not have as much as a hectic schedule as I still do. But it would have been hectic, I would go to my office and then come back home really tired, and then I would still want to go out and have a social life. So it's just the same, but in a different way, served in a different format.
Right.
So I've made my peace with it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Of course, I'm sure जब इतना प्यार आता है ना जब तुम्हारे artwork खुद के artwork पे, then I think a lot of things can be adjusted accordingly automatically without any kind of problems.
Yeah.
Right, within. Now you've been DJing for so long, and I just recently understood that you were trying to kind of introduce another moniker, Rim Zim, who wants to be a producer, wants to produce the tracks, which was always the dream, right? And I know in January you also started with you posted one of the tracks called Rumors Aloud. Firstly, kahan se aaya wo naam? Because it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like but the backstory would really be interesting to kind of understand.
Sure. Controversial shit again.
Oh, fair enough. Controversial is what we live for. That's what you guys gonna listen
Controversies make you famous.
Yes. Yeah.
No, so like I was writing this tune, and that time I was playing a lot of disco-ish music.
Right.
So I wanted to work around something of that genre. And it was a very peppy, upbeat song, and I sampled some, sounds from Splice. So these were vocals. That gave me an idea that I can work around with vocals as well. And the vocals are very mumble-ish, like not very out loud. So mumble, when I was like writing that tune down, I was like mumble, mumble, mumble. And I made like a whole track around that mumble energy.
Right.
That gave the name to the track, Rumors Aloud, because obviously everybody lives for the tea and the gossip, even though if it's not true, right? So yeah, it was just a very random idea that I want to name this track Rumors Aloud because they're really loud. And I've had some things happen to me where I would get to know people saying some things which are not true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I didn't think about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I won't name this person, but I was learning music from this person.
Right.
And I come back to Delhi for a gig, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and my friends or the peers in the scene, they go like, oh, are you romancing with this person? I'm like, hang on, wait a second. Where did that thought come from? I'm just kind of learning stuff from that person, not romancing or anything. So that time I realized that even though you try to stay as clean as you want, people will still talk about you. They will still make a facade out of the most tiny things in life. So yeah, that was another thought that made me write that title, Rumors Aloud, because they really are.
लोगों का तो काम है. देखो, कहना तो लोग बोलते रहेंगे. लोगों की बातें कभी नहीं खत्म होती. That's something that of course should not matter at all.
100%.
ये तो सच्चाई है. Otherwise, कभी focus नहीं कर सकते on what you really want to, right? So, very interesting. And I also kind of now want to learn what is your vision with your, kind of going as a producer? What vibe, what energy are you looking to kind of put out there, and what kind of songs you're, kind of writing right now and making?
So, I was very confused when I was kind of making this transition, because Bird had already gotten to a point where people started knowing me. And I've had this chat with a lot of my friends from the scene who are artist managers. And I was just discussing it with them, pitching them this idea that, what if I change Bird to my original name and just start playing music from that? And they all were like, Bird is pretty famous already, so I don't think you should be doing that. I was like, then what do I do? So from Bird, I started playing like more hip hop, commercial end of music. And I was not satisfied, because Bird was always my alter ego. It was always something that I would come back home to and my escape, basically. So I took that leap of faith. It's the third time I'm using that word. So it's a career of leap of faiths, I would say.
Absolutely. It's a hidden trial sometimes, like.
Yeah. But I took that, and now I have two monikers. So one is Rimzim.
Right.
Rimzim is more focused towards what Rimzim truly is. Hip hop, R&B, pop. I'm a trained Hindustani classical singer.
Wow.
I'm a Kathak dancer. So I want to get back to my roots. I used to write a lot of songs, a lot of stories back in the day. I want to get back to doing that. Maybe write songs, talk about love, heartbreak, emotions. So that is something which is going to be a little more on the commercial end, hip hop side. And Bird is always there for the more underground spectrum of music. And that clarity I've gotten after 5 years of just experimenting. And 5 years have just been sheer experimentation. So I'm glad I've come to that point where I can actually differentiate between what I want and what I don't want.
Right.
So
very
two projects.
Yeah, very interesting. So do you think there's going to be some kind of elements from Rimzim that could translate into Bird sets ever? Or is there any kind of element that you might be like, okay, this is something that I might want to introduce in my sets?
My vocals, maybe.
Fair enough.
So the songs that I make from Rimzim, they are going to be very slow, moody songs. I can always remix them. That's the power of being a producer. I can always mix them, remix them, just take the samples out and make another track out of it. You know what I mean? So let's say I'm working on a track right now. It's a hip hop track. It's called Sedated.
Right.
And I can just sample that up and make a techno or a hard techno or a hypnotic techno track out of that. And play it on my Bird sets. So that's the leverage I think I've gotten. Because I'm a producer, I write my own music. And that's very important.
And that's very interesting also. Like you can give life, your own life to,
100%.
Kind of both. There's some kind of leap that is happening on the DJ set. So that's great, I think.
Yeah.
Gives you more space to experiment and kind of bring out, whatever you feel like, of course. So so this is what I was going to really get into, like understanding how it's going to influence, because even as a wannabe producer that I am today, no training, learning everything, I really wanted to understand that on a personal level, to be honest. Now, let's get into the real talk. Okay, the real talk means this as a business, as venues come, and in terms of monetary and financial aspect of things that work in this industry. Firstly, being a female DJ, I'm sure it's going to be challenging with the kind of sometimes unwanted attention that can come your way. In terms of, does it affect financially? As in, do you get more or less gigs? Do you get higher pay or lesser pay? So how are things working on that front for you?
I think I'm truly blessed. Why? Because I've always stood by my stance. So, अगर मुझे पैसे अच्छे नहीं मिल रहे हैं और मुझे पता है I can bring a lot to the table, I will not take that gig up. Unless it's a very good opportunity, something that can change your life.
Right.
But being a female DJ doesn't necessarily mean all the, glam and all. It's very difficult actually. Because then you want people to take you seriously. And something that I've seen with the audience here, I won't even call it audience, but the peers around you. Audience is very open. I don't blame them at all. If you would sell them the idea of an artist, which is coming from some other country and it's a female artist, they would still go to her show, right? So that same can happen with a local female act as well. But it's the peers in the community, in the scene, who kind of make it difficult for you. I mean, I was working with an agency when I started. I won't name them, but if somebody who follows me very closely would know them. So the guy who was running that agency, it used to be like sheer exploitation, okay? I was also having a day job. I used to do social media marketing. And the work hours were crazy. They were shit. So I would work on Mondays, Tuesdays until Sundays, no timings, nothing of that sort. Work 24/7, get paid in peanuts, absolutely nothing. It was so bizarre. I addressed the situation to him and I stopped answering his calls because it was a Sunday.
Right.
And I wanted that day to myself and I had a gig to play in the evening. So I just told him very politely that, listen, I will talk to you tomorrow about this because today is a Sunday. It's my break and official break that you've given me. And also, I have a gig to play at. He told me, so basically he threatened me that I'm going to make it a point of my life that you don't grow. I'm going to destroy your career and all the other things that follow. Yeah, तो उसने ऐसा बोला मुझे. That made me full of rage. Like, I had nowhere to go to, nobody to go to. And the thing is that I posted about this on social media. Kyunki I can't take this. So I relied on social media. I was like, I'm going to put your name on social media. Because I was also very angry and very naive.
Right.
I think I was very naive because I did not know how these things work out.
Right.
And I thought that me doing that would bring some pressure to him and he would at least apologize to me. He never apologized though. So I did that. A lot of people reached out to me in my support. Some of them were very genuine. Now, some of them were like, yeah, you know, we've heard about them a lot. They do this, they do that. But then a month later, they are working with the same guy. I'm like, how much of a hypocrite can you be? Like, either don't say anything, or if you're saying something to me, make sure that that person does not get the chance to thrive at all in the scene because people like that exist. And if people like that are existing, how can you ever make this a nice, happy work culture to, you know, be in? It's always going to be toxic. But again, I was so naive. I did not understand. I was full of rage. But lately, I've understood this, that जिस industry में हम हैं, वहाँ पे everybody wants to be liked. So, if everybody wants to be liked, वो आपके फेस पे कुछ और बोलेंगे, वो मेरे फेस पे कुछ और बोलेंगे, आपसे मेरी बुराई करेंगे, मेरे से आपकी बुराई करेंगे, पर हम जब साथ में मिलेंगे, we all will pretend like we are all like amazing friends, you know, wow, life is beautiful. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the biggest challenge that I think exists in the scene. Just be real, man. How difficult it is. And if somebody जिसने इतने लोगों के साथ ऐसा कुछ किया है, mind you, that guy has a really bad reputation.
Okay.
So if he's done something of that sort and he's still programming venues, how is that valid? How is that justified? You only tell me. We should all be together and boycott that person so that somebody else does not have to suffer.
Yeah.
But people are still suffering and that loop is on and on and on and on.
I don't know what kind of power dynamics even play in this scene that you could allow something of this to continue, right? But because it's all about the people are sellouts. Some of like that's why certain businesses and industries suffer. And it's just not the music industry. There are other industries as well that I don't want to name and of course, you know, get unwanted heat. But I mean, music industry is something that we can have a very clear conversation about. And I think you bring out a very, very fair point. And there have been a lot of cases like that. And yeah, it's not just exploitation on that front. There's a lot of other kind of instances also. And yeah, man, like I think it's really tough to thrive and grow in this industry being real. Because your opportunities would reduce in an already like opportunities in the space are much lesser in the underground scene and the kind of venues that are doing so well to perform there, then you can't really risk that either. So people either would fall for the same, this thing that, okay, I don't like this venue owner or this organizer or this promoter, but well, what do I have to do? I got to work. You got to survive. So financially, has it been making sense in terms of this, that sometimes you're like, okay, you know what? I'm getting this amount. I'll do my gig. I'll exit. I'm done with this. And financially, does that support the cause that you're.
I don't think so.
No.
Because as a local artist, Indian artist, local artist, you don't get paid well in your own country.
Yeah.
People who are touring international acts, they would get those international acts at like 4 times more the cost that they actually charge you. But just because they're following the hype, they would get those people down, fly them down to India at 4 times higher cost. But when they decide the opening acts, they're like, oh bro, we don't have budgets. I'm like, how is that possible? You're flying down somebody who has a certain amount of worth, but you're paying them 4-5 times more of that worth. But here, I've been here, we hang out together, we party together, we meet at social gatherings. You're telling me, oh bro, I don't have budgets, but I want you to play. How does that make sense?
Because at the end, like, the whole idea is ki if once you start supporting the local act and the local artists and create a healthier scene, only then you can really grow together, right? Like, if I take X amount of budget and मैंने 90% of the budget लेके चल लिया कि मैं international act को दूंगा और 10% में दे रहा हूँ, it's absolutely unfair for sure. It's like, it's bad management of your budget that's been provided to you. You rather take 2 top DJs in India and pay them slightly lesser than in that international act, have the upcoming artists be paid better so that they're motivated enough and everybody's happy, and you can pull in the crowd. कितनी जगह होगी एक venue में?
100%.
800 लोगों की, 600, 700 लोगों की.
100%.
So in that, you can fill up a place with just local acts and Indian artists, right? 600-700 with 4 good DJs playing a whole night of
100%.
great set.
And I'm sorry, but the amount of money that people are spending to get those international acts, if you spend the same amount of money to do something about the ecosystem of the Indian music scene, or I would call it Asian music scene in general, because this kind of music came from the West.
Yeah.
So now is the time where Southeast Asian artists are like really peaking.
Yeah.
So if you would invest the same amount of money in maybe growing that person's profile, because the career is already great. We have like really talented people.
Yeah.
But if you just give them that extra push that, listen, we got you. We'll do your PR, your marketing, your branding, labeling, whatever you want. And kind of work towards the ecosystem. I think we can beat the artists that, are coming, touring India
Absolutely.
for that 5 times more money. Easily.
And reverse the whole game.
Easily.
Send out the artists.
Because we have a lot of
everywhere in the
money.
world. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a lot of money. It's just probably not, it's not, I think, it's just not rotated properly within the scene, right?
Yeah.
And, this definitely goes out to all the producers, all the people who are key stakeholders in organizing these events to consider this. I think if you want to grow and you want to really become truly successful, I think you have to support the local artists. You have to kind of be fair about the wages that you're paying these artists
Exactly.
and the time you're investing and the money you're investing in, these local acts.
And
it's
also,
become a
like,
must.
there's this thing where we don't really have the law system sorted for artists.
Yes.
Like, I really wanted to address that because there are entertainment lawyers, but people don't know they exist.
Yeah.
There are a lot of lawyers who are doing stuff around copywriting, songs and all the other forms of art in general, but they come so expensive, first of all. Second of all, not a lot of people are aware. So let's say when this situation came down to me, where that guy told me that, he's going to do whatever, I recorded the entire conversation. I tried to be out there, reach out for some legal support. because he did not pay me my money either. But I did get no support at all because I was a growing artist. I did not have the money and I did not want to involve my family into this because anyway, it's a very gray area, this whole art industry. And if your parents come to know about something like that, they're going to be like, oh, red flag, red flag.
Yeah.
I told you, don't go there, don't go there. But it's like any
support.
other business, right?
Yeah.
So having a proper law around it for artists that, this is the minimum wage that every artist should get, every DJ should get or something like that would be really nice. But I think that goes against our culture, which is why for the next 2 decades, it won't happen in the country. I'm telling you that also.
Really, that's really sad, I think, because I'm going to be eventually working towards a platform to really sort out, because I think contracts, like in the previous episode, I was talking to Sahil Mohan Gupta, the founder of Opcore, and we were discussing how important it's becoming to get contracts in place, so when you're getting a gig, sign a contract that, hey, this is the amount, this is the day, this is the number of, this is how many minutes I'm going to play. So everything kind of documented, signed and agreed upon to, even if you want to make a case out of it, you should have all the supporting documents.
Exactly.
So I think that is something that should come from the artists as well. But kahan pe wo log fas rahe hain is just that want to play, right? So that's been exploited. And I think the only people who can make this happen are the promoters, are the organizers, and the artists. You will automatically have to adhere to it. A venue needs those promoters, a venue needs those artists. A promoter is the middle guy, or the organizer is the middle guy making everything happen. So if they promote the idea of having everything in place, documentation, how much money is going to come in, when is it going to come, what's the credit cycle like? Jab tak wo document nahi hoga, tab tak I don't think anything is going to improve.
Exactly.
So there's definitely 2 decades. I think it's so sad to hear that it's going to take 2 decades, but you might not be wrong, you know, like, because there is no, it's like dirty politics.
100%.
आप कितने पढ़े लिखे हो और आपको कीचड़ में उतरना ही पड़ता है. And when you're really dipping into that dirt, you can't help it but get dirt. So सब भूल जाते हैं contracts जब उन्हें पता चलता है, oh, I'm getting the gig, oh, I'm getting the cash at least.
Exactly.
It's only जब नहीं मिलता ना, that's when they're like, oh shit, I really messed up.
I read it in my business school.
Yeah.
I understood the concept of a trade union. So I think if that concept comes in the music scene, since we are talking specifically of that as well, it would be really great. But problem ये आती है कि I charge a certain amount of fee because वो कैसे मैंने डेसिफर किया कि मैं इतनी फीस चार्ज करूंगी इज माई एक्सपीरियंस, द काइंड ऑफ म्यूजिक आई प्ले, जो हंटिंग लगती है उस म्यूजिक को ढूंढने के लिए, जो पैसे खर्च होते हैं, क्योंकि म्यूजिक you have to buy your music. A lot of the newer artists don't buy their music and they support piracy. So that's the first step of being wrong. So you have to stay true कि नहीं, मैं भी तो एक आर्टिस्ट हूँ, कल को कोई मेरा म्यूजिक भी तो खरीदेगा. अगर मेरा म्यूजिक पायरेसी होके कोई खरीद रहा है तो that is so bad for me. So now imagine that for other artists. So you have to buy your own music. तो ये सारी चीजें they make your performance fee. And then of course the fact that I'm a performer as well.
Right.
So this is the standard amount that I'm going to be charging. Nowadays, it's all followers. Ki okay, I have like 2 lakh followers on my Instagram and I'm doing something. But I go to parties and I feel ki DJing is a pretty interesting profession. It is amazing. तो मैं अपने शौक के लिए DJing कर लेता हूँ या कर लेती हूँ. And when that comes in, तो फिर उन्हें पता नहीं है बिजनेस कैसे काम करता है ये वाला, specifically music business. So then they are okay with playing for peanuts also. I mean, I have also played for peanuts, but that was the start of my career. My first fee that I got as a DJ was $2,000. From there, I've grown. But as a influencer or somebody like that, you've got people जिनको आपके साथ पार्टी करनी है, तो अब आप वेन्यू को पिच करोगे कि मैं इतने लोग लेके आ रहा हूँ. तो मैं अगर प्ले कर रहा हूँ या कर रही हूँ, I will bring 50 people in. आप तो बस उनकी दारू सॉर्ट कर दो, उनका अल्कोहल सॉर्ट कर दो, खाना वाना देख लो, and we should get the most VIP and luxurious treatment ever. The venues would agree to it. Who would want to spend money?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to charge. They just want that 2 minutes of fame that, you know, oh, I am the DJ, bro. And everybody's like rooting for you, which is great. But then you're spoiling the market for other artists who actually want to do something in the scene. So, unless like all the artists unite, कोई promoter कुछ नहीं कर सकता, कोई agency कुछ नहीं कर सकती, कोई venue कुछ नहीं कर सकता. You have to make sure कि मैं इतना time, इतना पैसा अपनी craft में invest कर रहा हूँ. So I need to get the returns just how any other business works.
Yeah.
But then the problem comes ki because this is also a part of entertainment industry. You know how entertainment industry is. It looks so fancy and so glam, but then back end pay it's like all dirt and like you said, dirty politics. So I don't think if that's going to change anytime soon. And I need people to change क्योंकि इतना awareness नहीं है. I think awareness होगा तो there's always going to be two types of people. But when this type of people who are actually adamant with what they want increases and surpasses this other kind of set of people,
absolutely.
I think we're still going to get somewhere. पर उसके लिए courses होने चाहिए. किसी को पढ़ाई नहीं करनी है. Nobody wants to understand music business. Nobody wants to understand copywriting and, stuff that goes around when you're releasing songs.
Right.
Nobody wants to understand music distribution, कैसे चलता है. उनको लगता है एक Spotify playlist से में अगर गाना आ गया तो हमारा गाना हिट हो जाएगा. ऐसा नहीं होता है. या फिर एक गाने पे इतने streams आ गए तो हम popular हो जाएंगे या, कुछ भी, something of that sort. पर ऐसे नहीं होता है. It all like everything is standard like any other business. But we don't have the understanding to kind of read it because it's very new to us. And because of social media, अब वो चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा overhyped और over glam हो चुकी है कि हाँ अब तो ये है DJ है whatever.
Of course, I've seen so many models turn DJ in a month. I'm not joking. In a month.
I don't want to say anything about that.
Yeah, I'm going to zip it after this, but this is true. It's like, DJing as in the recent future, like, past, it's happened. It was not seen earlier. Like, there were people who understood how to really mix in the bigger console and not just the
Correct.
new mark or, like the DJ heroes and all of that. Uspe mix karne wala. But I think that whole skill and art is kind of being sidelined with the other fancy things that you can see on social media and as you said, 1 million, 2 million followers, just because there was something else that the followers came for, but then you're a DJ now, you have those people to see that. And the value system bahut change ho gaya.
Exactly.
It's kind of sad to see, but I think it's definitely in the hands of all the artists who've, as you said, invested in their craft, are putting out, their emotions in form of music to the people who can connect. उसके बीच में ही आ रहा है. So I think it's all in the hands of musicians, organizers to really take this forward. And
organizers can only teach you. Like, that's what I tell everybody. All the artists who come and talk to me, the new artists, they tell me कि उसका ऐसा है, वो organizer इतना egoistic है, वो ऐसा है, वो वैसा है. I tell them that why do you have to worry about that? You focus on what you want to do. And everybody comes with a certain baggage. You come with certain baggage, I come with certain baggage. And if somebody is telling me that I find you to be too egoistic, I've gotten this, by the way. There was this one DJ, she's very sweet, okay? We are very good friends. But when we met for the first time and actually spoke in person, she told me that initially, I found you to be a little egoistic. But then now that we are talking and I'm understanding you more as we are talking, I realize that you deserve it. So I did not know how to react to that, but I slept with this thought.
Right.
And it actually makes sense because I am trying to bring a change here and I'm not easily accessible to anybody, right? If somebody wants something of information or of value, they can come and talk to me.
Right.
I don't have to go announce my value that, listen, hey, I'm going to help you with this or whatever.
Yeah.
So when people come to me and they actually get to know me, they realize I'm just like them.
Right.
I love fun. everything. But on the outside, because I'm not talking to them, it might appear that, oh, you know, she's so egoistic or whatever.
Yeah.
Though I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. That's not me.
No, I
But-
can vouch for that. 100%. Definitely not. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, as a newer artist, emerging artist, you have to come for help. No promoter, no organizer can probably help you out क्योंकि वो इतने time से इस scene में है. They've invested as a promoter,
Yeah.
as an organizer. You also invest your time into building the scene, right?
Right.
So promoters will not come to you. You will have to go to them. And if they are not responding to you एक बार में, be a leech.
Yeah.
Go out to them 10 times, 12 times. इसमें कोई ego नहीं है कि वो तो मैं तो कैसे जाऊं or you know
It's like
something like
getting
that.
any project, like in any
Exactly.
business.
Yeah.
So for sure. Yeah. And I think this is definitely how you get to learn about the business also. Do you, even artists, for example, if somebody comes to you for, say, like, you know, any kind of learning or suggestions or, you know, what's your take on this? And like, if anybody needs that, they have to reach out to you. As you said, आपका नहीं बनता कि मैं जाके announce करूंगी भाई आ जाओ, I'm open for this
Exactly.
thing. So, and I honestly feel everybody's approachable, but you have to make that first step to
Exactly.
approach them and
Exactly.
be like, hey, I need help. If you, I don't think कोई शर्म होनी चाहिए to
Asking
seek
for
out.
help is never ever a problem. I would like to address this to everyone. Please reach out for help no matter what. Anybody and everybody will be out there to support you. Because personally for me, I have so many people on my Instagram. We are just like connected digitally. They started seeing my stories. They were like, even I want to be a DJ. How do I become a DJ?
Yeah.
I tell them everything. This is how I started. This is how you can do it. Then they come back to me 2 months later. They're like, oh, listen, I downloaded this software. I downloaded some songs. So now what do I do? How do I mix? I tell them that just, you know, tweak around with the lows, highs, mids initially. Then we'll come to the effects and all that. And they're able to do it. There was this guy, he's just 16, 17 years old. And he started talking to me. And right now he's killing it in his hometown. Like,
Nice.
all his shows are amazing. People have started knowing him. They come out for him. And he mixes so well. He started off on a controller. But he had that zeal in him that, you know, I really want to learn. And no matter what, he used to message me like constantly. Initially, I used to get really irritated.
Yeah.
But then I saw that in him. And I was really happy that people like that are here. So you have to do your bit. You have to go out. You have to keep that ego spectrum aside. You have to be there for your art. And that is very important. So networking, socializing, talking to people, even if you're an introvert, I consider myself one, but I think I've gotten a fair share of how do I deal with people now. But initially I had no idea. I had no idea that how do I talk to people? What do I do? What do I tell them? How do I strike conversations? How do I, you know, have them glued to what I want to convey to them? It takes time.
Yeah.
But just be at it
Yeah.
is what I'm going to suggest to all the growing artists.
Absolutely. And the thing is that every artist who's seen the struggle, because music industry is a very tough industry to kind of survive and become something in, right? So what happens is that people who've made it or are already in the making, and you can see that, they'll be really open to helping you out because they've seen that struggle. Like if you go to a city like Bombay, like you will see how people don't care about where you come from, who you are. They will understand that you, like anybody else, are struggling in that city. So if you really reach out to people in Bombay also, I mean, it's not just Bombay, it can be replicated anywhere else. But अगर आप reach out करोगे तो आपको लोग help कर पाएंगे. If you don't seek support, learning, experience का फायदा नहीं उठाओगे किसी और का तो कोई point नहीं. That's exactly what I think, and that's what I've been doing for so long. I've seen people who are doing better than me and I would reach out to them, hey man, मैं कैसे produce करूँ? What do I have to do? Like, so I'm fortunate enough that I have been in that circle so I can seek out help. But if you're not even in the circle, you can still reach out to people. Go to gigs, get the guy aside कि भाई आप host कर रहे हो. I just want to understand what you look at an artist. क्यों host कर रहे हो आप इस artist को? अच्छा ये कर रहा है, so do I need to do this? So there's a lot of learning
Exactly.
in just questioning,
Exactly.
and that really helps. So that is one very good advice that I think you gave. And so I know we're almost about to be done with the episode, but jate jate, I want really you to kind of tell these budding artists or people who really are aspiring artists some advice that you think that worked great for you in terms of maybe a mindset or in terms of skill set. What was the best advice that you would like to?
I have a handful actually.
Right.
But the first one would be it takes time.
Yeah.
Don't follow hype. Don't follow the trend. It's not going to last you anywhere. You might get popularity. You might get the bucks also initially for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. But then what? So it takes time. You have to be really patient. And it's a journey. Just like if you would be in a corporate, you would start off from a very lower level of management and then you would rise up and up and up to maybe, fight for becoming a CEO or CFO. It's the same. It's just that because it's art and it's not valued so much in the country, it's looked down at. But there's nothing to be looked down at if you're an artist. So take your time, be social. I know that is a very easy thing to say. And very difficult to do, but just kick off your anxiety. Just go to a bar, just go to an event which you really like, talk to people. I've seen people really be very open in such surroundings. They will talk to you.
Right.
They are not going to judge you. And even if they do, they won't say it on your face. So how does that matter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just kill it.
Right.
And stay true to your art.
Right.
Because if I'm not improving, if I would just be a DJ and not a producer, I would hit a saturation point. Now, let's say I'm not a producer, I'm just a DJ. I'm DJing for 5-6 years. Next what? I will learn vinyl DJing. I'll learn how to play on the vinyls. Then I'll start doing my vinyl sets. So that's another advancement to my career, right? I'm not just being stuck to where I was.
Yeah.
Same goes for production. If I'm producing something and I don't know, although production is something that's a lifelong thing, and I personally believe that no course can teach you that. You can get the basics of it from a course, but then at the end of the day, tweaking sounds, samples, everything, it's all on my hands.
Right.
So I can just maybe sit one day with kicks and understand how kicks are working. Another day, I can just sit with hi-hats and, make different sounds of hi-hats. See how hi-hats work. Third day, I can just sit down with a snare and, explore all the possibilities, all the sounds that snare can give me. And then, because I've spent one day each on every sound, rectifying my sound, making it clearer, maybe on the 4th day, I can make a really nice drum beat out of that.
Right.
So 4 days it took. It was a very slow process. But this is going to stay with me for life. And nobody can take that away from me.
Yeah.
So it's very important to constantly evolve. And the time is such. AI is here.
Right.
Everything else is here. We don't even need to write anything by ourselves anymore. Just ask ChatGPT and you will be answered. So in that era, if I want to beat AI by my humanly instinct, I think art is a great platform because AI cannot replicate art.
Right.
It can help you, but at the end of the day, people do like that human touch. So you're very privileged to be following an artistic passion. Right. Just make the best use out of it is what I would like to say.
Absolutely. AI is to be integrated and not to be feared for sure.
Exactly.
And at the end, we're humans. We are inspired. It's in our nature to be inspired and then create mostly. And whatever comes out is still you. It's an element of you. So definitely, I think that is to be worked on. And great advice. I think patience is so important.
Yeah,
Any
it's the
place.
key.
It is the key. And patience in terms of understanding how much time and money it would take. How long can you go with a lesser earning,
Exactly.
and make things happen regardless. It's a very tough journey, like entrepreneurship. Everything,
Exactly.
everything is pretty
Everything
much the
is
same thing.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Actually, even
Yeah.
me as an artist right now, I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
I'm handling my own brand, which is Bird.
Okay.
I might be an artist, but then at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur as well. So we have to start seeing things in a bit more brighter picture
Right.
and not just stay stuck to ki, oh, I play this kind of music and I host these underground raves. What are you doing with those underground raves? Of course, if you want to stay underground throughout your life, that's another story. But if you want more people to join your community, it's also about community building nowadays.
Yes.
Everybody has their own community. So then you have to be out there. And patience teaches you how to process things as well. The more time you take to process something, the more beneficial it becomes
Right.
for you.
Right.
So, yeah.
There's
I
better
mean,
outcomes.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then again, like money and everything else, it'll follow. Like, I remember us having this conversation right before we started that
Right.
there are the privileged ones.
Right.
So I really want to put a message out there. I don't come from a very privileged background because my parents just don't like what I do. They are
Right.
supportive of it now, but when I started, I had to run from my house and come to Delhi to build my career. And my parents were just against it. But so whatever I've done it by myself. I was like, I'm not going to take a single penny. I'll do it by my own. And it has happened. It took me 5-6 years to do that. It would have been different if my parents were supportive, if they were, willing to help me out. But I don't blame them. They can't understand this because, again, as I said, this is not our culture.
Yeah.
But if you come from a privileged background, please help others. Please
Yeah.
support others. Don't be egoistic about your privilege because maybe the people who don't come from a privileged background, their future generations would be privileged and then they would do the same to other people.
Right.
So it's the loop that we have to break. So if you're coming from a privileged background, help people. If you don't come from a privileged background, I think hard work can beat talent any day. So just work hard and do your thing and stay consistent, patient. You'll get there.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's really helpful advice. And privilege is another topic that, I mean, I've discussed it with a lot of people, and I really think, if you don't come from a privileged background, I really think you should try and assess your state at every point. You should have milestones that, okay, today, if I'm running out of money that I saved for specifically trying to become a musician, and you realize that you might need another source of inflow of cash, go for it. Make things happen. It's all about making things happen. If you think I need this much amount to reach a certain state, or I need to buy this gear, work, man. Like, get a day job for a certain amount of time. Get it for a year. Try to manage your creative space with the workspace, because that's what you owe to your craft. And when you're comfortable enough in the earning with your craft, leave the day job. So it's just about kind of balancing if you don't come from a privileged background. I mean, I personally tried it. I failed because I was not very careful about where I'm trying to reach and what I'm trying to do. And I realized it much later that I could have done things different. Today, if I want to kind of do that, I would get a day job first, and which I do, and I would make the money to support my dream and my passion. So I think this really helps, right? And a lot of budding artists should really understand that if you don't come from privilege, networking, asking for help, getting a day job, there's so many aspects to it that you can make work in your favor, and just go out and do it. Like, it's going to really help you.
Yeah, because it's better than regretting maybe like 10, 15 years later that, oh, I would have done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just leave that anxiety out. Have some beers.
100%. And certain other substances which we won't talk about today. But
Don't have them.
But absolutely true. That's
Yeah.
absolutely true. It's honestly been amazing having you here. It's
Thank
been
you.
so insightful a conversation. Because you're also a young and budding artist, right? Like, 5-6 years of experience and you've reached some place not coming from privilege, I think that sets a great example and a lot of learnings. If you want to reach out to learn something, either reach out to her, reach out to me, reach out to the artist that you really kind of value, and I think that's going to help everybody a lot, and the music scene as well.
100%.
But yeah, thank you so much, Rimzim.
Thank you for
It's
having
been
me.
awesome speaking with you, and thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you so much. It's been great, and I'm so glad that I could come here, talk, give my 2 cents about how I feel and the scene in
Absolutely.
general.
Absolutely.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And until next time, peace out and take care. Bye-bye.